Hey there. Today I would like to talk to you about what I regard as the number one skill for animal advocates. When I look in the animal protection movement and I see the people who are most effective, I think each and every one of those people is, in fact, an executive. Now, the word executive might conjure up visions of somebody wearing an $800 suit and working for a Fortune 500 company and driving a fancy car, and you might think that's what an executive is. But what does an executive do? Well, I think when you strip away all the BS and superficial stuff, at the end of the day, an executive is somebody who just decides on what projects are going to get carried out and then oversees those projects and makes sure that they happen on a timely basis. That's all an executive is, or as Steve Jobs once said, real artist ship. You know, we're all working on stuff, but how often can you conceive of something and see it through to completion and get it out the door? And I think that that is the essence of being an effective executive. And in a movement like the animal protection movement, we don't have a lot of people, unfortunately, who are really, really good at dreaming up projects and making sure that they get done and get out into the world. And that is a skill that, if you're really serious about protecting animals, it should be at the top of your list to learn. So let me just talk about a couple of things that you might find helpful if you want to be somebody who gets more stuff out into the world and actually accomplishes more for animals. There's a few simple things that you can do that will make you much, much more effective. Now, number one is just making sure that whenever you think about doing work for animals, anytime you have an idea, write it down. Because if you don't write it down, it's just going to be rattling around in your head and you might forget about it. And in any event, it's going to cause a lot of tension and anxiety because you've got a half dozen ideas percolating and you don't know which ones to do. Once you get things written down, you can sort of assess what your best ideas are and make decisions and say, okay, this is the project I'm working on. So I think that the best way to write your ideas down is to use index cards. And I purchase hundreds of index cards at a time and boxes of binder clips at a time, these little black things. And anytime I get an idea, it goes on an index card. And I periodically review my cards, I tear up the crappy ideas, and I promote the best ideas into full-fledged projects. Now, what's a project? A project is just something you want to bring into the world, and more often than not, it's a collection of, as David Allen would put it, two or more tasks. So once you decide that you want to create a project of whatever you're envisioning, it's good to think about, okay, what does this project entail? And you can sit down and think of all the different tasks that need doing. And once again, it's really important to write those tasks down because once they're down on paper, hey, you're just one step away from having a checklist and just checking off your ideas. I hope this doesn't sound, on the one hand, this is just incredibly obvious stuff, I think. But on the other hand, there's a real shortage of people in the animal protection movement who I think who are seeing things in this way where they realize that that being effective for animals is just coming up with great ideas for projects and then just executing these projects and getting them finished in a timely way, and doing them to high standards. It's not very hard to do any of this stuff, but having a system in place where you can dream up the best projects, identify them, and then decide, okay, I'm going to see this project through to completion. That's really 90% of what being a really great activist is, and I think the other 10% is just being a sane and halfway likable person. So let me give you a couple more tips that might really help you out in terms of being an executive and dreaming up projects and having what it takes to see your projects through without getting caught up and confused and not knowing how to move forward. I think the best book that I've ever read on carrying out projects it came out of about 10 years ago. It's by David Allen, and it's called Getting Things Done. And I could not recommend it any more highly. Now, I think that the system that David Allen talks about is it's a little too complicated for mortals, and I think he goes into things like contexts, and he throws he has stuff in this system that I think is more appropriate for somebody running General Electric than somebody who's just a garden variety activist who wants to bring great projects out into the world. So I think Getting Things Done, as his book describes the system, it's a little bit too complicated, but the nice thing about the book is you can just sort of cherry pick the ideas that work for you. And then the other thing to have in place, apart from just a stack of index cards, is you want some kind of system by which you can organize and carry out your projects. Once you've decided, okay, for sure I am going to do X, and I want to come out with project X within the next 2 months. Now it's your job to actually organize that project and begin checking tasks off your list. And there's any number of pieces of software that are designed to help you finish projects. And I think simpler is better. For the longest time, or for the last year anyway, I was using a wonderful product called OmniFocus to keep track of my projects. And OmniFocus is in fact modeled after David Allen's Getting Things Done system. In the last few weeks, I've decided that OmniFocus was actually a little bit heavier duty than I really needed, and I started playing around with Apple's Reminders app on the Macintosh. It's a free app that comes bundled with your Mac, and it's called Reminders. And really all it is it's you can set up any number of lists, and each list is made up of your to-do list items. So you could have a list for your big project, whether it's writing a book or whether it's organizing a special vegan dinner or whatever the heck it is. You can have a list of for your project, and then your to-do list for that project. And the Reminders app keeps everything straight, and then you can have as many projects and as many separate to-do lists as you want. It's a really, really elegant piece of software, and to me, just having super simple software that is really easy to use is just a gigantic part of being effective. If you don't have a Macintosh, for a while before I had OmniFocus, I was using a web app called Todoist, not to-do list, Todoist.com. And it's free, and you can access it through any browser. And it pretty much does exactly what Apple's Reminders app does. It's a little bit more full-featured, but I really, it's important to me to have something a bit more polished. I just kind of like the luxury of having a really elegant, super simple to-do list piece of software, because so much of my life is, and so much of my effectiveness is based on having good software. Okay, so in the blog entry at vegan.com that accompanies this blog posting or this video posting, I will have links to Getting Things Done and Todoist and to Apple's Reminder app and anything else I can dream up. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say today, but you know, there's really no mystique to being a great animal advocate. I think, as I said at the beginning, 90% of it is just identifying great projects and then having an organization system in place so that you can get them done on a timely basis. Okay, that's it for today, and thanks for watching.